If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. There's a buzz in Cleveland this week, and it's not coming from Lake Erie. It's coming from the Browns quarterback room, where rookie Shedeur Sanders is reportedly set to start the team's first preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. According to Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot, Sanders has been given the nod largely due to injuries suffered by both Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel, who are sidelined just days before the Browns' preseason opener, with Deshaun Watson continuing to nurse an injury and Joe Flacco expected to sit out the game. It's Sanders' show to run. It's a massive opportunity for the young quarterback who, just a few months ago, was sitting at fourth on the depth chart. The move puts Sanders under a bright spotlight as Browns fans and the entire football world get an early glimpse of the Colorado Stars' potential at the professional level. All eyes will be on the rookie when he takes the field Friday night. To say that Shedeur Sanders' rise to this moment has been dramatic would be an understatement. Just days ago, he wasn't even fully participating in practice due to some arm soreness, which had many questioning whether he'd be ready for the preseason at all. But by Monday, reports confirmed that Sanders had returned to full strength, throwing without restrictions and working with the first team in practice. The timing couldn't have been better. With Pickett and Gabriel both nursing injuries and Flacco taking a veteran's rest day, Sanders stepped into the role, and now, barring any last-minute changes, he'll take the opening snaps for Cleveland. This marks a huge shift from where he stood on the Browns' initial depth chart, where he was listed as QB4. Now, with a chance to lead the offense in live action, the rookie will try to make his case to not just stick around, but possibly rise up the depth chart. It's been a chaotic offseason for the Browns quarterback situation. Deshaun Watson's lingering shoulder issues have left a massive question mark around the team's most important position. In response, Cleveland went on a spree, signing veteran Joe Flacco, trading for former Steelers starter Kenny Pickett, and drafting not one but two rookies in Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. That quarterback room went from uncertain to overcrowded overnight. But if this first preseason game is any indication, the Browns may already be leaning into the future. Shedeur Sanders may have been picked in the 5th round, but his college resume reads like that of a first rounder. With Watson's health in flux and Flacco nearing the end of his career at age 40, Cleveland might be preparing for a scenario where the young guns take over sooner than expected. Friday's game could offer the first chapter in what becomes a long story for Sanders in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders comes into the NFL with a unique blend of hype, legacy, and raw talent. As the son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, Shedeur has lived in the spotlight for most of his football life. But unlike many players who rest on their name, Sanders earned every bit of his draft stock with a stellar college career, particularly his final season at Colorado in 2024. That year, he completed a nation-leading 74% of his passes while throwing for 434 yards and 37 touchdowns. He was the engine behind Colorado's unexpected resurgence, often carrying the team on his back during tightly contested matchups. Despite these accomplishments, his draft slide into the 5th round stunned analysts and fans alike. Now, with this preseason opportunity, Sanders has a chance to prove he should have never fallen that far. A strong showing against the Panthers could shift the narrative surrounding his NFL readiness in a big way. The Browns' selection of Sanders in the 5th round came after they had already drafted Dillon Gabriel, making it clear they were investing heavily in developing young quarterback talent. At first, many believed Gabriel would be the more immediate backup option, with Sanders needing more time to adjust to the NFL's speed and complexity. However, football is unpredictable. Injuries, performance in camp, and even moments of leadership can change a player's standing overnight. Sanders may have started behind the others, but now he's got the most important preseason spotlight of all. The coaching staff, particularly head coach Kevin Stefanski and offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, will be watching closely to see how he commands the huddle, processes defensive schemes, and delivers under pressure. It's not just about completing passes. This game is a full audition. Every snap Sanders takes could impact not only his future, but Cleveland's quarterback strategy moving forward. The franchise's decision to take Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a scouting gamble. It was a high-level organizational decision that involved some convincing at the top. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam admitted he didn't initially expect the pick. In fact, during his annual training camp address, Haslam recounted being surprised when he first heard Sanders' name being considered. But after several conversations throughout the day with general manager Andrew Berry, the consensus was formed. Haslam made it clear that this was Berry's call, just as personnel decisions belong to the GM and play calling belongs to Stefanski. What's important here is how much faith the front office is putting in Sanders, not just as a backup, but potentially as something more. When an owner highlights the process behind drafting a fifth-round quarterback, it usually means the player has already captured attention. It's not every day that a mid-round pick gets this kind of organizational backing, especially in a pressure cooker like Cleveland. Friday's game won't just be a test for Sanders' arm, it'll be a test of his poise, command, and ability to lead professionals. He's no longer at Colorado, where his father coached and his leadership was a given. This is the NFL, and the moment he steps onto that field, everything changes. The defenses are faster, the windows are tighter, the consequences of each decision are magnified. Sanders will need to show that he can process the game quickly and avoid costly mistakes. Preseason games may not count toward the standings, but they carry weight in the eyes of coaches and teammates. How Sanders performs when the pocket collapses or when a receiver breaks off a route will say a lot about his readiness. One preseason start won't make or break a career, but it could change the course of Sanders' rookie season and perhaps shake up the entire Browns quarterback depth chart heading into week 1. Even more compelling is the fan narrative surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland fans are some of the most passionate and impatient in the NFL. They've endured decades of quarterback instability and heartbreak. So anytime a new potential star emerges, there's hope, but also skepticism. Sanders' pedigree draws curiosity, but his actual play will determine whether the fans rally behind him or call for someone else. A great performance Friday could spark a quarterback controversy no one saw coming. If he shows elite traits, arm strength, mobility, leadership, it won't matter that he was a fifth-round pick. Fans remember what they see, not what the draft board said. And with Watson's health still uncertain, there's a very real chance the team leans more on its youth movement than initially planned. A fired-up crowd, even for a preseason game, could signal how much excitement Sanders is generating within a city desperate for long-term quarterback stability. One of the key factors that could help Sanders in his debut is the support system around him. Cleveland has built a strong offensive infrastructure with a talented offensive line, emerging wide receivers, and a dynamic backfield that can ease the pressure on any young quarterback. If Stefanski designs a game plan that gets Sanders in rhythm early, short passes, rollouts, maybe a few designed quarterback runs, it could help build his confidence and show off his dual threat ability. More than stats, what the coaches want to see is composure. Can Sanders recover from a bad throw? Does he keep his head up after a sack? Does he bounce back from a turnover? These intangibles can't be taught in the film room. They have to be lived in real-time action. Friday's game is a proving ground. It won't define his career, but it could absolutely define his first impression. And in the NFL, first impressions matter more than most realize. Ultimately, the Shedeur Sanders preseason debut is more than just a football storyline. It's a moment of possibility. For the Browns, it's a chance to evaluate a quarterback who might become their future. For Sanders, it's a dream beginning, an opportunity to silence doubters, and a platform to introduce himself to the league. For fans, it's something new to believe in, if only for one game, with the spotlight squarely on him and expectations already rising. Sanders has a narrow but golden window to take control of his NFL narrative. He doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be himself, calm, confident, and in command. The road to NFL stardom is long and winding, and it often begins with a chance just like this one. When the ball is snapped on Friday night in Carolina, Shedeur Sanders won't just be playing for a win, he'll be playing for his place in Cleveland's future. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Rumors have started swirling around the Cleveland Browns training facility this week after reports emerged that newly acquired quarterback Dillon Gabriel may have suffered an injury during a closed practice session. While the Browns have not issued an official statement, multiple sources close to the team suggest that Gabriel went down awkwardly after rolling out to his left during a red zone drill. Eyewitnesses from within the facility claim the quarterback stayed on the ground for several moments before trainers rushed in and quickly escorted him off the field for evaluation. The whispers intensified when he didn't return for the remainder of the session, leading many to speculate the severity of the situation. This potential setback couldn't come at a more crucial time for the rookie who has been fighting to secure a role in a quarterback room that's been anything but settled. For a player like Gabriel, every rep in practice counts. If these early signs are accurate, this could disrupt not only his individual development, but also the larger plans Cleveland might have had for their offense heading into preseason action. While there's been no confirmation from the Browns, organization what's adding fuel to the fire is the silence coming from Gabriel's camp. In today's age of instant updates and social media statements, the lack of any public comment from the quarterback, his agent, or even teammates suggests the injury might be more serious than initially expected. According to insiders with knowledge of the situation, the team's medical staff was seen entering the MRI facility on site shortly after practice, accompanied by a team official known for handling player transactions and health disclosures. That move alone has insiders speculating whether the Browns are preparing for a longer-term absence. Considering Gabriel's status as a developmental quarterback missing extended time this early in his NFL journey could set him back months, if not an entire season. It's not just about physical recovery. The mental reps, playbook absorption, and chemistry building opportunities could all be impacted by even a relatively minor injury. The lack of transparency is sparking more questions than answers. Even more intriguing is the response, or rather the lack thereof, from head coach Kevin Stefanski, who has been unusually tight-lipped about Gabriel's condition. Normally candid with media about player availability and performance, Stefanski has opted instead for a no-comment stance in back-to-back press briefings. This deviation from his typical communication style is raising eyebrows, particularly among beat reporters who follow the team daily. Some believe the silence is strategic, either to maintain a competitive advantage or because the coaching staff is still awaiting definitive medical results. Still, the decision not to offer even a cursory update is only adding to the sense of mystery surrounding Gabriel's status. And in a league where information is currency, that kind of ambiguity often means there's more to the story than the public is being told. As a rookie still acclimating to the pace and physicality of NFL-level play, even a minor setback can create a ripple effect that lingers throughout the season. Gabriel's potential injury comes at a time when the Browns have been experimenting with multiple offensive looks in training camp. According to reports, he was receiving more second-team reps as of last week, occasionally rotating in for situational drills that mimic real-game scenarios. These increased reps were seen by many as a sign the coaching staff was impressed with his progress and wanted to challenge him more aggressively in practice. It's unclear whether this shift in workload contributed to his apparent injury, but anytime a young quarterback is pushed beyond their comfort zone, the risk of physical strain inevitably increases. That said, it's not uncommon for rookies to experience physical hiccups during their first NFL offseason. What sets this situation apart, though, is the tone of urgency within the organization and the sudden blackout of information. It makes you wonder whether the Browns were considering a more prominent role for Gabriel than previously assumed. His absence could now open the door for others in the QB room to solidify their own standing. The timing couldn't be worse either. With preseason games right around the corner, the Browns coaching staff was likely planning to give Gabriel extended playing time in those early matchups. These games are crucial for evaluation, not just for Gabriel's development, but also to assess his in-game decision-making and poise under pressure. A training camp injury could now force the Browns to pivot, perhaps giving more snaps to veteran backups or fringe roster players who weren't expected to see much preseason action. This reshuffling might not only alter the QB competition, but also impact the team's broader offensive rhythm as they gear up for Week 1. If Gabriel's injury proves to be something that requires even a short-term absence, the ripple effects could stretch well beyond the quarterback position. Play callers may have to adjust schemes, receivers may need to resync with different arms, and overall game flow could suffer. It's the kind of disruption no team wants heading into the critical stages of preseason. In the midst of all this uncertainty, fans have taken to social media to speculate, analyze, and even panic. Hashtags related to Dillon Gabriel and the Browns began trending locally within hours of the first whisper of an injury, and fan forums are buzzing with theories. Some believe the Browns are downplaying the situation to avoid public outcry, while others argue that the media is overblowing what could be a minor issue. But the fact that Gabriel hasn't been spotted anywhere since leaving the field, not even on the sidelines or in the locker room during the next day's practice, is undeniably concerning. Fans who had high hopes for the rookie are now left wondering whether they'll get to see him at all this season. The broader narrative is starting to shift from excitement about Gabriel's upside to concern over whether he'll be available or even able to contribute in 2025. With fan expectations riding high, this is not the kind of uncertainty the franchise needed. Interestingly, this entire situation is also shining a spotlight on the Browns' decision to draft Gabriel in the first place. Some analysts had questioned the pick, citing his stature and arm strength as potential limitations at the next level. Others were intrigued by his leadership qualities and ability to extend plays outside the pocket. With this possible injury now entering the conversation, critics are beginning to revisit those draft day evaluations. Was he durable enough to survive the rigors of an NFL schedule? Was his playing style, which leans heavily on mobility, sustainable? In a league where defenders are faster and more physical, if he ends up missing significant time, it could fuel a larger debate about the Browns' scouting and development process. While it's far too early to label Gabriel a bust, moments like these often become inflection points in a player's career, the kind that either galvanize them into greatness or sideline their momentum indefinitely. Only time will tell which direction this chapter heads. It's worth noting that the Browns have had more than their fair share of quarterback drama over the past decade, and any injury to a QB, even a rookie backup, tends to stir uncomfortable memories. From high-profile busts to locker room conflicts to season-ending injuries, the position has been a revolving door in Cleveland for far too long. That's part of why the team's decision to take a flyer on Gabriel was met with cautious optimism. He represented not just a potential future piece, but also a symbol of the franchise's commitment to developing talent in-house rather than seeking quick fixes. If this injury ends up being significant, it could throw a wrench into that long-term strategy and force the front office to reevaluate its plans moving forward. The risk now is not just to Gabriel's individual future, but also to the team's ability to build sustainable depth at football's most important position. And in today's NFL, that kind of setback is no small matter. Around the league, other teams are reportedly keeping an eye on the situation. Quarterback injuries have a way of shifting the dynamics of roster building, and if Gabriel's injury proves to be serious, it could open the door for other players to become trade targets or even waiver wire pickups. Some league insiders speculate that teams with extra depth at quarterback could explore options to engage Cleveland in conversations. It's the kind of quiet leverage move that happens more often than fans realize, and often when a franchise is most vulnerable. For Gabriel, this could mean added pressure if and when he returns, knowing that other quarterbacks may be entering the building in his absence. For the Browns, the challenge becomes managing that pressure internally while maintaining a public posture of confidence and stability. If they fail to do so, the noise could get louder both in the locker room and in the media. And in a sport where perception often becomes reality, that noise matters. Until there's an official statement from the Browns, everything remains speculation. But the energy around the team right now is unmistakably tense, as if everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop. Whether it's a precautionary absence or something more severe, the optics of Gabriel being carted off the field are hard to shake. And in a training camp full of promise and ambition, this unexpected turn could cast a shadow that lingers well into the regular season. Of course, there's always the chance this is all precautionary, a minor tweak being blown out of proportion by the rumor mill. But as is often the case in the NFL, when there's smoke, there's usually fire. Fans, analysts, and league executives will all be watching closely over the next few days, hoping for clarity. Because right now, in the absence of facts, all anyone has are whispers. And those whispers are growing louder with each passing hour. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!